Bonjour, YouTube family. Celestial here, and you are tuning into Celestial Evolution. Thank you for taking the time to check into my channel, where I will be focusing on the 4 pillars I believe will create a solid foundation to enable us to thrive, not just survive. If we are consistently conscious of each of these pillars, which I have coined as spirituality, physical prowess, hopefully I can get these tags right, physical prowess, financial well-being, and education, we will create a foundation that I believe will help us get through the toughest of times. So, with that being said, let's get into our episode, shall we? Getting in touch with your inner hater. Yes, you have one, I have one, we all have one. The fruition of many of my episodes are inspired by deep conversations I have with the tribe that the Omnipotent One, God, if you will, has blessedly bestowed upon me. At this juncture in my life, I'm not where I envisioned myself I would be when I was a wee one with big hopes and dreams. And with the mirage that is social media, it elicits a pang of inadequacy within me. With everyone flossing, living the best lives, it is easy to get down on yourself. You can't be truly happy for someone until you're happy with yourself, that is, right? That is the truth not many of us want to accept. Why? Well, I think it is because it forces us to propel that dreaded action of taking accountability for our lives. Before I dive in a little deeper on that concept, what you will notice if you watch any of my other episodes is that I love to define words so that we can understand them contextually, therefore understanding the root of their effect on us. I want to provide 2 definitions, one for the root word hate and the urban meaning of the word hater, which was a part of the inspiration of this video as well. Hate, as defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary. I always like to mention the words have different breakdowns in the dictionary because I choose the definition that most complements what I want to highlight. So, with that being said, the first definition that I saw that resonated with me was to have a strong aversion to or find very distasteful. The other one was the intense hostility and aversion, usually deriving from fear, anger, and a sense of injury. Let's talk about this definition first. I was taught at a young age not to use the word hate because of how powerful the word is. Its antonym, love, is equally powerful, yet it is a term that is used so fleetingly. It can be more synonymous with the word like nowadays, but that is a digression for another time. In regard to hate, I also speak a lot about the word connotation, which is the emotional response a word garners in the subject apart from its actual meaning. The subject being the individual, us, our own selves, the person, whatever. I feel hate has a pretty negative connotation, and that doesn't deviate too far from its actual meaning. One definition that stuck out to me was the intense hostility and aversion, usually deriving from fear, anger, or a sense of injury. That was interesting to me in the sense that it provided context for the origination and use of the word. What I mean by that is that hate usually derives from fear, anger, or a sense of injury, which gives grounding for the emotion itself. An example of that could be, I hate bullies because I was bullied as a kid. I think this connects to my topic of getting in touch with your inner hater in the sense, I don't feel like we can truly hate something unless it was an event that brought forth a painful experience that we've cataloged within ourselves. Therefore, there can be no solution to rectify this lived experience without some true introspection and analyzation. My opening quote by Mark Twain, which says, "Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured." This, I feel, is evidence to my claim. When that hate festers within you, it is hard to focus on anything else. You become self-pitying, spiteful, resentful, guarded, and stunted by an experience that, albeit was traumatic, but it was just a moment in a series of moments that life brings to us. I want to say that first with the deepest empathy in my heart for those who have gone through a painful experience that I will never understand. But keep conscious that we all go through different levels of pain. It is our response that ultimately shapes our reality. Now, I want to move on to the word hater as defined by the Urban Dictionary. The top definition of hater was a person that simply cannot be happy for another person's success. So rather than be happy, they make a point of exposing a flaw in that person. Hating, the result of being a hater, is not exactly jealousy. The hater doesn't really want to be the person he or she hates. Rather, the hater wants to knock someone else down a notch. Petty. Petty as hell. Now, the first definition is a person that simply cannot be happy for another person's success. So, rather than be happy, they make a point to expose a flaw in that person. There is this term called the backhanded compliment. You heard of it? I'm sure you have, because it happens to all of us. You know, it's like that time when someone's like, "Ooh, girl, you lost heck of weight, but don't get too skinny now, because you're going to lose all them curves," and that is not cute. Or if like you know someone who started a business and other people are so happy for them, but they immediately start listing all the things that go wrong, as if the person doing what they're doing has not thought of every bad possibility that can go wrong, right? How do these words tie together, you ask? Well, let me point out an obvious reality, that we are highly engrossed in our own world, right? I have shaped my paradigm to exude a very flowery existence because it was what I chose to focus on, not because my upbringing was necessarily the most flowery. I always tell my godmother, who is amazing, just an amazing human being, I always tell her that the greatest thing she ever did for me was give me a book about serial killers at a very young age. I think it was because she saw that my mother and family tried to shield me from the perversions of the world, the evils of it, so that I could exist in innocence for as long as humanly possible. Though this was a noble and loving gesture, it was also very dangerous. The book about serial killers not only exposed me to the grotesqueness that can exist and can be lived out by the human species, but it also revealed to me the psychology that manifested the heinous crimes. Digress. I, to this day, love murder mystery, and just recently subscribed to this channel that narrates the context of chilling 911 calls. If you're interested, I link the channel below. But some people are born evil. I think that's safe to say, right? The argument of nature versus nurture is a valid one to discuss, but not today. I feel people are going to want to express what they feel is their truth, and sometimes that truth is a sinister one. I also feel that evil comes from a vessel that became more and more rancid over time. An extreme case of this would be like from an episode I watched on YouTube, right, about a woman who threw acid on her friend's face because she was just jealous of her. Like, who does that, right? Who the hell thinks of that? What was going on in her mind to rationalize carrying out such a malicious act? It doesn't just happen overnight. That was a result of a series of experiences that she kept playing in her mind to eventually set her off and go through with maiming her friend, almost killing her. Which, shoot, might as well do the deed, you know? But that was an extreme case, and though it ties into my topic for today, let's look at smaller acts that everyday people like you and myself take part in consciously and unconsciously that I feel feed into the ailments of today. I want to desperately believe I live in a world where hate is not an act people do consciously. I feel that people merely project their lived experience onto someone else because they just can't help it. This can result in planting seeds of doubt in a mind that was existing just fine without that jaded 2 cents. I am also sure this frame of mind stems from this innate voice that says, well, if I couldn't be happy in that reality, I don't want anyone else to be happy in that reality. That's pretty messed up, right? But if we can be a little honest with ourselves, I think we can start to analyze the root core of our depreciating mindset. Then in turn, being able to find ways to resolve it. The quote I mentioned by Mark Twain, I agree with, in that anger does corrode the vessel in which it's stored more than on what it's poured, but really take into consideration that it still causes harm externally, even in small increments. I see many cases of bitterness as I am watching videos in the wormhole that YouTube sucks me into. It is a mindset I don't wish to engage with, but I know I need to understand. The world sucks sometimes. This is true. But when we allow the energies of the externalized world to push us off our center, therein lies the evidence and need for work to strengthen our grounding. If we don't do that, we become feeble-minded and blaming of the vendetta the world has on us, as if it's so focused on the one little tiny entity that is you. In this mindset, we become self-pitying. Self-pity, I feel, opens you up more to the debilitating thoughts of, well, if you can't beat them, join them, which is severely destructive. I always say, one person throws a piece of trash on the floor, no problem. But if 1,000 or 1,000,000 people do it, we have a problem. Why is this relevant? If we don't understand that even if we feel our presence on this earth is insignificant, your presence will and does have a major impact eventually because of how influence works. For example, you're a parent that creates a toxic, dysfunctional household. More likely than not, your children will adopt some or all of those dysfunctions and carry it forth on into the world, spreading that seed. Even when you know better, even when people know better, we justify our actions in saying that this is the way it has been, therefore how can I change? The only way we can change is to get in touch with our inner hater, that part of ourselves that we loathe and avoid, yet lives inside of us and comes out in moments of weakness or when it's being threatened. In doing this, we can start up a real conversation with him or her about why it exists and how we can move forth in healing. We all have a part in this giant macrocosm, and in knowing that, yes, this notion can be overwhelmingly cumbersome. It will be easy to fall prey to the mainstream mindset, which is a collective group of entitled and jaded people. Healing takes work, but just like anything worth having does, if more people accepted their part in the destruction, the chaos of our current social climate, I feel that we can truly begin the process to healing. So, with that being said, I'll let all that juiciness soak in. And if you have any questions or need someone to talk to, don't be afraid to message me and we can discuss our journeys together, because when I'm speaking to you all, I am truly speaking to myself, trying to become conscious of everything that goes on in my life, because therein lies accountability. This has been Celestial from Celestial Evolution, and I thank you for spending your time with me today. You could have been anywhere else, but you're here right now. And if you made it to the end of this video, muchas gracias, merci beaucoup, kopchai lalai, I appreciate you. Did that rhyme? I hope so. As always, keep looking, learning, and evolving. And I will catch you on the next one. À tout à l'heure. Bye!